and welcome back to Doz's Television Workshop, where today we're going to be taking a look at this little Sony KV 1320 colour TV set from the early 70s. Let's get into it. Right, let's have a little look at the front panel of the set, because it has a couple of, well, fairly unique and interesting features. This is a Mark I set, and you can sort of tell roughly what mark it is by position of two controls on the back, which I shall come back to when we spin the set round, and the fact that the front panel is this quite handsome sort of black and black leatherette front. The later sets had this quite bizarre green wood grain effect. I'm not sure whether it started out as green or sort of faded over a period of time, but I always found it very unusual to look at. But there we go. So this is a Mark I set. On the front panel we have a pull-on volume control, picture, which is Sony Speak for Contrast. Quite unusually for a UK set, we have a hue control. We have an AFT, automatic frequency tune, colour, that's saturation, and a rotary UHF only tuner. This is, I'm going to use the word PAL-I here. It's designed to receive PAL-I, but it's designed so you can't call it a PAL set. We'll come on to that in a minute. Really clever feature, this down here. These are two 3.5mm mono earphone jacks marked earpiece, and as you can see there's a dot by one and two dots by the other. If you plug, I can't remember which way round it is, but if you plug an earpiece into one side of it, it leaves the internal speaker on, but if you plug it in the other one, it mutes the internal speaker. It featured a lot in Sony TV sets, certainly throughout the 70s, maybe into the early 80s, but I always thought that was quite a clever thing. So, you know, if you had somebody that was maybe hard of hearing, I don't know, or maybe you wanted to connect a recorder and record the sound of the TV, you could do it whilst having the speaker working. So yeah, there we go. Little 13-inch Trinitron CRT. I got a few scuffs. It's had a few wall wounds. There's a piece of veneer missing there, and in this top corner. But yeah, it's on the whole, it's in fairly good nick. I bought this from a chap in Stafford, and as per usual, I paid far too much money for it. But the tube is an absolute peach on it, and that was the Achilles heel for this set. Not that the tubes weren't long-lived, good grief, they were long-lived, but the sets themselves were so reliable, they just wore the tubes out. Yeah, right, let's spin the set around and have a little look at the back. It's heavy. For such a tiny little set, it is very, very heavy. A little bracket at the top here that takes your aerial, and Sony did produce some sort of weird satellite dish looking UHF antenna for these. The back's sort of marked a bit, but we're in good nick. Trinitron colour TV receiver, model KV 1320UB, serial number 10736. AC 50 Hz, 240 volts, 98 watts, Sony Corporation, Tokyo in Japan. We have lots of controls on the back, as you'd sort of expect for this vintage TV set. Vertical center, horizontal size, tilt. Yeah, tilt just moves the picture in that direction, and the screen voltage. It's got a red button. That is a mains cutout. Just like a modern circuit breaker, these sets didn't really go for fuses. They had these circuit breakers instead. We've got the background controls for red, green and blue for the CRT drive, and of course the UHF aerial socket. Oh yeah, here's how you identify a Mark I set. Vertical hold at the top here, and brightness here. These controls were located on the top of the set on a Mark II. So that is sort of the definitive thing. Oh, I'm just going to spin back round to the front because there's something I haven't mentioned. And it's one of Sony's little lies, maybe, or partial truths. This badge here proudly states solid state colour. Now, solid state means it's all transistorized. They tell lies. The Mark 1 set, certainly the early ones, actually have a thermionic EHT rectifier valve. We'll come on to that in a minute. Right, let's spin it back round, get it in bits, and see what makes it tick. Right, start off with these screws on this side. Whoops. Quite a long screw, 30 odd mil long, quite a coarse thread. You will have noticed I've taken the 2 screws out of the side of the aerial socket, and the other thing we've got to do is just pull the brightness vertical hold knobs off, and then it remains firmly stuck. What have I forgotten? What have I forgotten? Is it that screw there? What have I forgotten? Ah, I know exactly what I've forgotten. There are 2 screws securing the back to the bottom of the chassis, here and here. And those are somewhat shorter. Hallelujah. And you'll notice, when I get the back off, finally, that the set tilts back. And that is because the back has little moulded feet in here, look. There we go. And there is the set. And I'll be quite honest with you, it was a good job these were so reliable, because yeah, it's not a pleasant thing to want to get into and repair. Over this side, let me just turn that around so you can see, there's a label here that says high voltage rectifier tube type 3AT2. So that solid state thing, what do we reckon? Bit of artistic license. The later Mark II sets, and possibly some of the later Mark I sets, also incorporated in the end a solid state EHT rectifier. It's not got much in the way of EHT. It's only, I think, about 17,000 volts, unlike the sort of 25 that the shadow mask tubes of the era sort of required. So it, yeah, it's fairly understressed. I think also the Trinitron set used that valve, can't be sure. Very much a sort of American style tube. It's full of dust and stuff, but it's pretty much unrestored. All I did when I had the set was purchase it and set it up. It wanted for nothing. There are, by the way, some presets you can get at from the bottom. Ah, yeah, there we go. So vertical bias, vertical linearity, vertical size, and horizontal frequency. I'd forgotten about those, but you can get a screwdriver in underneath the chassis, underneath the back, and just adjust them without taking the back off, thankfully. Other odd things to notice. This section over here, top part is the line stage, and the bottom half is a mains transformer. This set apparently was designed to have a switched mode power supply in it. Yes, back then, but there may have been a reliability problem, or they weren't quite happy with the design, I don't know, but the original sets ship with a transformer. So yeah, there it is. it must have been a nightmare when these went wrong. I have to say, during my time in the trade, the only time you ever really saw them was when the tubes were just worn out. They were stunningly reliable. Other things of note, under the top there is our conventional EHT cap on our CRT, but also we have this other high voltage feed going into the neck of the tube. And there is sort of rubber, I don't know what the word is, a rubber gaiter, I suppose, around the neck of the tube. And in through there goes a voltage called H-stat. And that is horizontal static convergence, because the way the Trinitron tube worked, it was electrostatically converged. And you can alter that and move the horizontal convergence in and out a bit. Yeah, to just give you the best display. And yeah, there we go. Other than that, I think it's completely transistorized. I don't believe there are any other valves or tubes in there other than the EHT rectifier. There's a heatsink up here which contains our horizontal or line output transistor. Yeah, just a tantamount to build quality of Sony TV sets in the early 70s. The internet tells you a little bit of a lie, by the way. They say these were 1969. I don't believe any were actually imported into the UK until late 70 or 71. This probably being one of them. It's very, very difficult to date. Like I say, Mark II set had a semiconductor EHT system. The horizontal and vertical controls were up here. And also there was another revision which was for BEAB approval, British Electrotechnical Approvals Board, where they sort of frowned on Sony because they didn't have enough fuses in the set. So there was a revision that had a lot of fuses in it, and probably less reliability because of it. But yeah, that was another revision to these sets. Like I say, beautifully reliable sets. This one, I have changed nothing. Not only that, but it hasn't been on for a number of years, so there we go. I'm not so sure about this statement down here, by the way. This may be another lie. Perhaps I should test it. That's a good idea. Caution, the chassis of this device is directly connected to one side of the AC line. I'm not so sure about that, because that may have been true for the version if they'd have gone with a switch mode power supply. I'm going to pull the main switch on. I've never tested this, and I've always meant to. That's neutral. Nope. And that's live. Nope. This set is isolated from the mains. So that's another little lie. There's another symbol here, another sticker here. Replace circuit breaker with same type and rating. That's that. I've certainly never seen one fail. I think I've changed one in a Thorn a long time ago. Thorn 3000, 3500. Did that have a trip on it? And I think I had one of those which was a bit trigger happy, and I changed that. But that was long time ago. That would have been in the 80s. There we go. Right, we need to address the elephant in the room, which is the chrominance decoder. So back in the day, if you made a PAL television set, as a manufacturer for each set, you had to pay a license fee to Telefunken, who owned the patent for PAL. So what Sony decided to do was make a decoder that would decode colour from a PAL signal in a non-PAL manner, thus not needing a license nor infringing the patent. There are a couple of sets that did this. Perhaps the Sony was the best. I am not going to call it simple PAL, because PAL-S was a sort of fudge done by Teleton, and Teleton sets generally suffered when decoding PAL signals, certainly on oranges and reds. They suffered with this sort of streaking lines that would appear in the colour, and they're known as Hanover blinds, and you can actually get a proper PAL official patented decoder to make mistakes like that and destroy the picture a little bit. But anyway, this set did it in another way. and I am by no means an expert. There is a thread somewhere either on radios-tvs.co.uk or maybe on the Vintage Radio forum that does go into detail and tells you how this decoder actually works. My simplified version of it is, because it's only a 13-inch screen, you can throw every other line of colour away and then repeat the previous line's colour. So you halve your chrominance resolution, luminance stays the same. You halve the chrominance resolution and you can do it in that way without having to have the phase shift, which would be in breach of the patent. That's my sort of simple understanding of it. I stand to be corrected. Please do. Yeah, there we go. That's that. Oh, the other thing that you needed to have if you didn't have a proper PAL decoder was a tint or hue control on the front panel, so that if you did get any phase shift that was causing you unpleasant colours that the phase alternate line system would cancel, then you could adjust it out. And yeah, for that reason as well, these sets can be a little bit finicky with their colour and when they receive it. And I have to say, I am yet to try it on Pi Pat Gen, but we'll do that and see if it makes a nose of the job or not. Right, should we switch it on? Well, I've got the set all set up on the bench. It's plugged straight into the mains. I haven't run this in a number of years, so I'm half tempted to put it up on the Variac, but then I thought, well, what's the worst that can happen? It is a Sony after all. So yeah, let's pull for on. It degaussed. I can hear the frame running. Can't hear the HT, but we do have to wait for the HT. Oh, blimey, there we go. And we're on. Only in black and white. Just a tuning issue, yes. There we go. We got any sound? We have sound. There we go. Well, that was absolutely painless. Now, if I remember rightly, I'm just having a look in the neck of the tube. You can see the heaters glowing in there just about. I'm not sure you're going to get that on camera. But the reason that might have come up so quickly is I've got a sneaking suspicion some of the Mark 1 sets kept the tube heaters on when the mains was plugged in, which probably accounted for some of them being a bit short-lived. Let's just switch that off. Yeah, I've still got tube heaters, although at a lower level. They're always on, so you get a sort of instant on, yeah, picture. And yeah, it's a little bit soft. Then again, it hasn't been run for years. I'm going to leave that running for a few minutes and see if it sharpens itself. It's getting better all the time, actually. Yeah, that's just a super reliable set. Yeah, there you go. I'll just demonstrate the hue control to you while we're here. So if we wind it up, you can see it very much distorts the picture of the colours of the clown there. So it's sort of a more purpley blue at that end, and then a more correct red at the other. But yeah, there you go. This is the picture control. You can see it does vary the contrast. Hue we've demonstrated. What have we got? Colour, clearly black and white. And there you have it. That's a good result. Honestly, it must be 3 or 4 years since I've run this set. But that's the important thing to remember. If those tube heaters are always on, that tube is always sort of wearing out a bit. So it's like they used to say at the end of the TV broadcasts at the end of the night, just to unplug your set when you're done for the day, because otherwise you've left that heater running all the time. So yeah, there you go. The KV 1320, lovely little set from Sony, and it's another one that I'm going to be passing on. Thank you very much for watching. Click like, subscribe, do all that rubbish, and I'll see you very soon here on Doz's Television Workshop. Cheers now, bye.
And it'll be 21 minutes past midnight in about 5 seconds' time. Don't forget, please, to switch the set off properly. Pull the plug out of the socket too.